Grace, mercy, and peace be to all of us through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This text from the Gospel of John is one of the most studied, one of the most quoted, perhaps even one of the most misquoted passages in the New Testament. It contains wonderful words of comfort. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. It's often used at funerals. When I was in seminary, went on internship for a year, worked in a church, I had to conduct a number of funerals. We had a lot of funerals in that church, and the pastor only did the members. And I, as the intern, did all the non-members. So when I preached at funerals, he suggested that anybody know who that is? Okay. When I preached at funerals, he gave me 2 or 3 texts he thought would be the appropriate text to use at funerals. And this was one of them. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. Then there are other words in the text. There are words about the significance of Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. It was one of the better remembered, and there are several others, actually. And then there are strong words about the relationship of Jesus and the Father. Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. So there's this identification between Jesus and God. Earlier in the Gospel of John, it's expressed as I and the Father are one. And then there's some marvelous words of promise. Very truly, I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. Anybody remember whose favorite Bible passage that was? Pastor Early Miller. Pastor Early would quote that passage every once in a while. My favorite Bible passage. We'll do greater works than these because I'm going to the Father. And there's more. That's just a few of them. A fairly long passage. And marvelous, marvelous words here. And today all I can do is lift up a few of the riches of this text. We can't really plumb the depths of it. It would take hours. A lifetime, perhaps. But let's address at least some things of the text. The first thing I will look at is the question, who is Jesus? That's very prominent in this text. Who is Jesus? The text emphasizes, first of all, what it means to know Jesus. After Jesus has promised to prepare a place for his disciples in my Father's house, Thomas, he's not doubting Thomas in this text, he's questioning Thomas. Thomas asked the question, Lord, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way? Jesus' response, of course, is, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And then another sentence, whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Maybe a little bit of impatience on Jesus' part with Thomas here. Thomas keeps questioning things that Jesus thought maybe they ought to know already. What Jesus is emphasizing to the disciples in any case is, and to us, is that, as he says earlier in the Gospel, I and the Father are one. Now this has been the stuff of conversation, of debate, and yes, of conflict in the Christian church for many centuries. What exactly does it mean that Jesus and the Father are one? Does it mean that Jesus and God, as they said in the ancient world, are essentially one? They're made of the same stuff. They called it Godhead in the ancient church. Jesus and God the Father are part of the same stuff. And we don't use this idea so much anymore. That things have an essence. But with regard to human beings, for example, the idea of essence would be that we're all human beings. Essentially, we're all the same. Now we got DNA to help short, dark, light, young, old, male, female, on it goes. We've got all these differences, but in essence, we're all the same. Down deep. We're all the same. And the idea of many Christians has been, well, that's a good way to describe Jesus and the Father. Down deep, in their Godhead, they are the same. Essentially, one. It's what stands behind our understanding of the Trinity. We confess the Nicene Creed, and that's a Trinitarian creed, and behind the doctrine of the Trinity is the idea of essential oneness. But not all Christians have believed that. They've had other ideas. One idea has been that Jesus and the Father are united in purpose. They're involved in the same mission. They do the same stuff. Do the same stuff. So they're united. They're one. In a unique way. More so than any of us are united with God the Father in the doing. Are we 100% doing the work of the Lord? Can any of us claim that? But Jesus can claim that. We can claim it of Jesus. So 100% in purpose, in mission, if you will. That's what unites the Father and the Son. And other people said, that doesn't do it for me. That's actually what they said mainly was, that's not enough. That's true, but it's not enough. And there are other suggestions and arguments about those suggestions. That the Father and the Son are united in the pursuit of faith, hope, and love. It's faith, hope, and love. Again, that's a variation on the mission idea, purpose idea. Faith, hope, and love is what unites them perfectly. And we are kind of like God in a way because we have faith, hope, and love, but we don't have it perfectly, and we can never have it perfectly in this life. So that's unique. The relationship with Father and Son is unique. They are one. And people argue about that and don't agree. We're not going to unpack all that now. I'm sure you're thankful for that. Come to adult Sunday school class. You do a little better there. But you can see how profound this is and how important it has been for people, and it still is for people. What do we mean when we say that Jesus and the Father are one? But then Jesus goes on to say more than that. By himself, he talks about believing in him. No matter how you answer important and interesting questions about the relationship of Jesus and God, this is theology, and maybe it's not enough. Jesus does not come into the world primarily to provide knowledge about God. He doesn't come in to be primarily a theological professor. These are the people like me. He comes, rather, to invite us to believe in him. Believe. What can that mean? Well, we think we know, actually. Good old English word. We use it all the time. We believe in things. We don't believe in things. We say we believe in evolution. I always tell people, I don't believe in evolution. I think evolution is true, but I believe in God. There's a difference. That word, English word believe, gets tossed all over the landscape. It has many different meanings. It can mean a kind of supernatural knowing. It can even mean sometimes suspending reason. We stop thinking because we believe. Don't think it's a good idea, by the way. I think we better keep thinking. I think God invented our brains for a reason. God gave us reason. He expects us to use it wisely. And God doesn't play tricks on us or on our mind. I think Martin Luther, since we're in a Lutheran church, I'll quote Martin Luther. Martin Luther had a good idea about this whole business of understanding what belief is. He equated it pretty much with trust. Believing is essentially trusting. I'm going to read part of the passage. Again, you can take it out if you want. I'm going to start at verse 10, and I'm going to substitute the word trust for the word believe. See if it still doesn't read pretty well. Very well, I think. Verse 10. Do you not trust that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Trust me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. But if you do not, Jesus is realistic, then trust me because of the works themselves. Very truly I tell you, so what question. Does this mean anything? Does it have any importance? When you walk out of here this morning, will it make any difference in your life? In my life, for that matter. The so what question. Very interesting stuff, perhaps, but what does it have to do with living? Well, I'm trying to attempt to answer the so what question. I'd like to focus on the words, no one comes to the Father except through me, which is an extension of the idea that I am the way, the truth, and the life. There's a lot of discussion about this in our modern world, as there was in the world when the Bible was written. In fact, there's more discussion probably of it now than there has been any time since the time of the Roman Empire. What does it mean to say, no one comes to the Father except through me, that is Jesus? Or to say that Jesus is the way and the truth and the life? What does that mean? Can it mean anything for us in the modern world where there are many religions and we know about those religions and they're right down the street? And Christianity has divided into many forms. And some forms of Christianity say we're better than the others. And some forms say we're the only Christians and they're not even Christians. And on it goes. We got many options before us and many choices. Somebody has said there were 47 major religions in the Roman Empire of Jesus' time and a whole bunch of little ones that you've got to kind of hunt for. 47 major ones. I don't know if that's right. I don't know how many we'd get if we tried that some kind of count like that. Maybe we get 20 something. I don't know. Right here in Columbus, Ohio. There are lots of options. And so people will say it is silly to believe that there is only one way to God. It's ridiculous. It's silly. All these people are out there trying their various ways to God, and certainly God can't deny all but one of them and say only the Christians, and maybe only a certain kind of Christians, have the right way. It's silly. All roads lead to God. Some groups then turn right around and say, however, if you're contemplating these various roads to God, I want you to know that our road is shorter and straighter. Smoother. There's actually a group, I'm not going to name them, but there is actually a group that actually says that in their literature. Oh, you can be a Christian, a Protestant, a Catholic, or Eastern Orthodox. You can be a Buddhist, you can be this. But if you join our group, the road is shorter and straighter. When I read that, I had a chuckle. I mean, it's the best of both worlds, I guess. Others insist, and this is mostly Christians, insist in saying that unless you become a Christian, you can't be saved. Hence the anxiety about preaching the word to as many as possible, baptizing as many as possible, because the ones you don't baptize, the ones that don't hear the word, they're going straight to hell. That's an extreme version of it, because most of the versions are a little kinder, gentler, and there are asterisks and footnotes, and some exceptions. Most people do that, who preach this. But I have sat under preaching, actually it wasn't even on this continent, it was in Australia. I have sat under preaching where the preacher would get up in the pulpit on Sunday morning, and he would say, only faithful Christians are going to heaven. He usually didn't mention hell, but we all got the point. Okay, so what about all these other folks? You better be a Christian, better safe than sorry at the very least. Maybe there's a better way to understand I am the way, the truth, and the life than either of these options. I do believe that saying Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life is not the same as saying that only Christians can be saved. Clear about that. But it is saying that our eternal relationship with God, our relationship right now with God, and our relationship with God for all eternity is in the hands of Jesus. In the hands of the crucified and risen Christ. Is that good news? I think it is. Do we really trust Jesus with this great responsibility? I hope we do. I hope we're not tempted to put conditions on it. Jesus, you'd better not save so-and-so. I won't put any names on that. Or you better not save that group of people over there that we know ought to be going straight to hell. A lot of Catholic Protestant antagonism in this country over the years. I tell you a joke about an uncle of mine. A lot of Catholic, and at some point Protestants seem to actually be saying they wish the Catholics would go to hell. And they were reciprocated in that. So, you know, things were tense. And I'm not talking about official theological pronouncements. I'm talking about people who lived with one another and argued, and it wasn't entirely funny. But anyway, I have an uncle who lived in a town where at one end of the street was a big German Lutheran church, Protestant, and at the other end of the street was a big German Catholic church. And the Catholics and Lutherans historically didn't get along very well in that town. And my uncle didn't get very well with the Catholics. And they had two cemeteries. They had a township cemetery. All Protestants and atheists were buried in the township cemetery. And the Catholic cemetery was across the road. So my uncle would say, only half jokingly, bury me with my rifle. Because on Resurrection Day, I'm going to come out shooting. It was funny, but it also betrayed something of his attitude. Jesus, you'd better not be saving those folks. And we've all got potential lists we can, or categories. Or, Jesus, I'm not going to witness to you unless there's some payoff, unless you've got some special reward for your faithful followers. Why am I coming to church every Sunday? Why am I putting money in the offering if there's no special reward? I mean, Jesus, this is a big investment. What's the payoff? I'm not going to witness to you, or if there's no payoff. If, that's a terrible word, if. Or even the more theological or spiritual idea. What's the point of witnessing to you, Jesus, or believing in you, trusting in you, if I've got a decent chance of salvation anyway, and I can avoid all of this hassle? Maybe I can even avoid all of the hassle of a religion. The church or some other form of religion. Why bother? What is the point of Christian knowing, believing, trusting? Why would we witness? What about that deadly little word, if, that we like to sneak in there? Maybe another way of asking the question is, why bother to trust, to believe, to witness, to know, if God's mercy is very, very wide? Remember the hymn? There's a wideness in God's mercy. Wideness of God's mercy. Not limited to Lutherans, Christians, any other category. Wideness of God's mercy. Again, the hymn writer has it right. The hymn writer has it right. There's a very wide mercy. And the implication all through the scriptures and in that hymn is that we're in need of mercy. Even though we come to church and we give money and we're nice to each other and, you know, we help one another and all that, there's still, we need mercy. God's mercy. So why believe, let alone witness, if we're still sinners in need of the grace and mercy of God? And I don't think the answer to that question is the blessing of earthly riches, which is out there as an idea. Get involved in this because you're going to prosper, folks. And I don't even think it's the promise of a worry-free or anxious-free existence. We've got a lot of religious ideas floating around that would say, basically, you know, you can do away with the anxiety, the worrying, as long as you just believe enough. And it certainly is not a special ticket to heaven. We're not going to show up at the famed pearly gates and say, here's my Hope Lutheran Church ticket. I was a member. And here's my giving statement, signed by Lori Thompson. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. So then why are we here? What are we doing? There's more than one answer to that question. And I'm just going to end with one answer that I think is very important. I'm going to call on the insights of another old hymn, which names a special blessing, not a ticket to heaven, not the end of all our worries and anxieties and problems, all the bad things that occur in the world, certainly not prosperity for everyone in an earthly sense. But it does name a special blessing that I think is very biblical. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of his Spirit, washed in his blood. Perfect submission, perfect delight, visions of rapture now burst on my sight. Angels descending bring from above echoes of mercy, whispers of love. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I in my Savior am happy and blessed, watching and waiting, looking above, filled with his goodness, lost in his love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior.